Chapter 7. Beyond the Sea. As Skatir sat on the roof wrestling with her doubts, the smoke cloud loomed ever closer, its dark tendrils snaking towards the city. The guards retreated behind the town walls, and the spruce barrier erupted into a fiery ring, casting a golden glow over the chaotic scene. Skatir's heart swelled with a mix of fear and determination, but her resolve soon hardened. She couldn't simply sit idly by while the town was under attack. With a newfound sense of purpose, Skatir climbed down from the roof, her boots scraping against the stone. She landed with a soft thud on the cobblestones, ready to lend a hand. But before she could take a step, a gruff soldier intercepted her, his face set in a stern expression. "You, child!" he barked, his voice like a crack of thunder. "Head for the harbor now!" Skatir hesitated, her instincts rebelling against the order. A spark of defiance flared within her. "But I want to help," she protested, her voice barely above a whisper. The soldier's expression turned even more severe. "Now!" he thundered, his voice leaving no room for debate. He spun on his heel, dismissing Skatir as he bellowed orders at the next person. Skatir felt a surge of frustration, but the soldier's unyielding gaze had already moved on, leaving her to make her way to the harbor. As she pushed through the crowds, the scene that unfolded before her was one of unbridled chaos. People swirled about, their faces twisted in anguish as they scrambled to board the ships. The air was thick with the smell of salt water and fear, and the sound of wailing children and shouting adults created a deafening din. Skatir's eyes darted about, searching for a glimmer of order amidst the mayhem, something, anything she could do to help. Before she could even grasp the situation, a soldier's firm grip closed around her arm and she was pushed onto one of the smaller fishing boats. Skatir stumbled, her feet tangling in the nets and ropes that crisscrossed the vessel's deck. The boat lurched forward, and Skatir's stomach dropped as it was pushed into the sea. She turned, her gaze fixed on the city, her heart heavy with a mix of fear and sorrow. The flames from the spruce barrier danced across the walls, casting a soft glow over the desperate scene. As the small boat sailed into the darkness, Skatir found herself enveloped by the anxious faces of women, children, and the elderly. Behind them, the fires and the purple glow of the monster's approach cast an eerie light on the horizon. The people around Skatir were on edge, their voices hushed but laced with fear. Children wailed, and women whispered to each other, their faces etched with worry. Skatir, however, felt numb, as if she had been wrapped in a shroud of ice. Unable to muster the energy to engage with the strangers around her, she leaned back, trying to find a comfortable spot amidst the crowded boat. As she gazed up at the stars, Skatir's mind revisited the events of the past 2 days. Just a short time ago, she had been sitting down to breakfast with her family, surrounded by the familiar comforts of home. The warm glow of the fire, the smell of fresh bread, the sound of laughter. Now she was alone, adrift on a sea of uncertainty. The monster had destroyed everything she had ever known, leaving her with nothing but the clothes on her back and the memories of what once was. At first, anger had burned within Skatir, a fierce determination to fight back against the forces that had torn her life apart. But as the stars twinkled above, Skatir's anger slowly gave way to a deep, aching sadness. It was as if the weight of her grief had finally caught up with her. She felt lost and alone, a small, insignificant speck in a vast and unforgiving world. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she thought of all that she had lost. Her home, her family, her friends, her whole world. The uncertainty that lay ahead seemed to stretch out before her like an endless, dark abyss. As the boat rocked gently on the waves, Skatir closed her eyes and her mind wandered to the ancients, seeking guidance in their wisdom. As she softly recited ancient hymns, the rhythmic motion of the boat and the soothing sound of the waves slowly lulled her into sleep, her heart heavy with grief and her spirit worn down by the trials of the past few days. Her breathing slowed and her body relaxed, but her mind remained a turmoil of emotions, her dreams no doubt haunted by the memories of what she had lost. After a long night, the sun once again peaked above the horizon. Skatir shook off the haze of sleep, and an unfamiliar sight of a foreign shore met her gaze. The boat soon reached land, and the captain, a grizzled old fisherman, stood jump ashore onto a large rock. His face was as weathered as the sea itself. His voice boomed across the group like a rusty bell. "Over there lies Feardgast," the captain declared. Skatir's eyes followed the captain's pointing finger towards the imposing fortress of city of Feardgast. its stone walls seemed to rise up from the earth like a giant's fist. "It's the safest place you'll find on this side of the sea. You'll find shelter there." A murmur of relief rippled through the group. One of the women stood up and asked, "What about you?" Her voice was laced with concern. His eyes clouded over like the sea on a stormy day. "I must sail back and see if there are any survivors," he said with a low but resolute voice. The fisherman turned on his heel and boarded his boat, leaving the group to make their way towards Feargast. Liana, a woman with a commanding air about her, took charge of the group of refugees. Her long gray hair was braided down her back, and a large fur coat was draped over her shoulders, giving her an aura of authority. Liana led the group on a path towards the city. As Skatir trailed behind the group, her loneliness struck her. Everyone else seemed to have someone to cling to, a friend or family member to share their fears and loss with. But not her. She was alone, a solitary figure among strangers. As they approached the city walls of Feargast, Skatir's eyes widened in awe. The walls were a marvel, smooth and polished, with a sheen that seemed almost otherworldly. They towered above, at least as tall as a massive pine tree, and Skatir couldn't begin to fathom the tools and techniques the builders must have used to construct such a structure. Guards stood at the massive gate, their faces stern and unyielding, surveying the approaching group with suspicion. They wore bronze armor and held bows at the ready, their eyes narrowed against the sun. Skatir felt a shiver run down her spine as she gazed up at them. She'd never seen anything like it before, and the sheer scale of the walls and the guards' imposing presence left her feeling small and vulnerable.